As you can see, we're doing an at-home version of our talk show, Chase Your Dreams, the place where dreams become reality. And we're joined by Shawn Vacha. Hopefully I pronounced your last name correct.
Oh, it's Vacha, just like the drink, no D.
Okay, well, I can remember that. And what we're going to talk about is a career as a diesel mechanic. Shawn, let me ask you this. How did you get into this industry?
Well, unfortunately, I dropped out of high school when I was about 17. And for a couple of years there, I was looking around, trying to go from job to job, looking to see what I wanted to do for my lifetime career. And just really never went anywhere. My dad was an elevator mechanic, and my other relatives were mechanics. So they pushed me towards looking into automotive. So I went to Lincoln Tech Institute in Oak Lawn at the time and talked to a career counselor there. And I decided to go for the diesel technology program that they had. And that's really how I got started.
So what is a diesel mechanic? What do you do?
So a diesel mechanic does many, many tasks, too numerous to even explain. But they do tasks like basic maintenance, oil changes, grease jobs on trucks, engine transmission, drive axle maintenance and repair. But they also do major repairs like engine overhauls, transmission rebuilds and installations, rear end rebuilds and installations. But there's more to just transportation in the trucking industry. So a technician could be working on heavy machinery out in the field. That's involved in the diesel technologies too. You could be working on trucks, class 6 to 8. You could be working on buses. You could be working on RVs, off-road equipment such as bulldozers, backhoes, that sort of thing, boats, ships, machinery in a factory. There's even trucks and cars nowadays, which is huge with diesel technology. So there's a lot to it, and that's where a really young mechanic should get into one of these technical schools and help develop his path for his career.
Wow, that is way more than I thought was involved in being a diesel technician, for sure. Now, you were saying a good school, get into a good school and a good training program. How long is a program to like really set you up to work on every vehicle you just named?
Well, when you go to one of these technical schools, the reputable ones, it's usually about 1.5 to 2 years, depending on what the actual learning task is that you decide you want to go through, because usually they'll offer an automotive and a diesel class. So that could take up to 2 years depending on the school. But most of these technical schools, they help you get enrolled. They also teach a basic automotive class. High schools do the same thing. I suggest that anybody that wants to get involved with it, at least if you can get into a trade school that offers a little bit to get your feet wet, that's really the way to go.
Yeah.
Gives you a little experience so you can see if this is the right industry you want to be in. You know?
And do you think, I actually think it's a great thing that you recognize that, hey, trades are kind of my thing, and you went and explored that. Would you say it's a good idea to get into it earlier?
Yeah, I mean, the schooling could take up to 2 years depending on what your path is. But then once you get into the workforce, you could have an apprenticeship that could take up to 4 years, where you have hands-on training with a journeyman mechanic, a senior.
Yeah.
So it is a long process, but it's well worth it, because once you get past that apprenticeship stage and start being a journeyman, the sky's the limit. And especially if you're studious, do the job the right way, you can go a long way in a company just being a really good mechanic.
That's
Hey,
so
Shawn,
great.
is there a, I don't know, I guess I wouldn't say age limit, but a stage in your life where, you know, you probably are too old, or maybe you shouldn't consider, or is this something where someone, let's say around, in their 40s or 50s, they've always, you know, tinkered around and, you know, they really enjoy trying to consider this? Is this something that you would suggest for someone even making a career change from one career to the next?
Absolutely. I mean, the industry as it stands right now, we're begging for mechanics, whether, doesn't matter how old they are. So if they've gone through a class and they have the knowledge to get out there and make that career change and have the ambition to stick with it, I would suggest it. I mean, this industry, like I said earlier, it's not glamorous, but it's a very good career choice for anybody looking to make a decent living. You know, I mean, you start out at a good wage, and you can only increase it as you learn. So it's definitely a good opportunity for anybody at any age.
Now, Lawrence had mentioned age as a potential obstacle, and you're saying that's not an issue. Are there any obstacles that you have to overcome when you want to become one?
Especially if there's if the students come out of these training schools, they get basic set of hand tools, but they have to be prepared to make a huge investment over their career in the tools that they need, because it's an ever-changing industry. So the tools, I have tools when I first started 30 years ago that I probably will never use, but you're always constantly buying tools, and trust me, the Snap-on and Matco guys are there to help you along the way. But the other thing is, you know, constant training. Learning never stops in this industry because of the rapid technology changes. You have to be prepared for that. And then working long hours. When you go to some of these companies right out of school, they're going to give you a probationary period. Could be up to 90 days, maybe a year tops, but eventually you're going to have to go to nights, which is a huge obstacle for some people. But if you're willing to work that shift and you're ambitious, you can work your way up to a day shift, you know, or possibly, you know, move on to another company that's going to treat you a little better, you know, pay you a little more, your benefits may be more, but that's really the most the best obstacles that I can say you're gonna encounter. You know, long hours, constant training, and tools. You got to make that investment.
So would you say that as far as like character traits go, that that is ambition is one of the most necessary ones in this career?
Absolutely. I mean, the other thing, you got to be detail oriented. You got to have some kind of ambition to get involved with the technology. Computers are a huge thing on some of these diesel engines, and you have to ever change to the conditions, you know. So every time they come out with something new, you got to learn that, and then you got to try and be proficient at it. But just about the time you get proficient at it, they come up with something else. So it's an ever-changing industry, and you got to be, you know, self-disciplined. You got to be a self-starter. You know, most of these companies depend on mechanics not to have to instruct them the whole time that they're on the floor working. They've got to be able to do things on their own, and you got to want to do it. You know, you put into it what you want to get out of it, right? So it's very important to be a self-starter and an ambitious person.
Hey, Shawn, being that right now there is a shortage of diesel mechanics, and it's no secret that it's only going to get worse as people start retiring, and with everything going on with technology and the transportation industry as a whole, would you suggest that this would be something that not only someone can get into as a great career, but as a career that they can sustain for a long period of time?
Absolutely. I mean, you said it yourself, the demand is not going to go away for a diesel technician. With the technology that's coming out, these trucks need to be fixed. They're handmade pieces of machinery. We're unfortunately not perfect, so stuff happens and they need to be maintained and repaired. I mean, it's just the nature of the business. But I recommend anybody that's looking for a career choice, you're interested in working on some type of machinery, a car, a truck, off-road mechanic, whatever the case may be. This is a sustainable career for anybody looking to endeavor for the long term.
Now you say there's different shifts that you do, and you said working on the floor. Now, what are the job sites? Are you remote sometimes? Are they mobile? Do you report to one place, or?
Well, it really depends on the company that you actually hire into. Okay. You could be, working inside of a shop, but maybe the company is a fleet and one of their personal vehicles break down on the road, so they may send you out on the road in a truck. If you're working on heavy machinery, of course, you can't always get that to a shop. Sometimes they're out in the middle of a cornfield doing work and it breaks down. So you sometimes may have to go out there if you're in the off-road. And like if you're working on a boat or a ship, you could be out on the water. You may have to be called out there and boated out there. So it's a very diverse and interesting field. I've done everything in my career, from off-road to boats to trucks, and it's just, if you're one of them people that want a little diversity in your career so you're never bored, this is the career to do it in. You can do just about anything you want.
That sounds great and fun.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely a dirty career, but it's something that if you enjoy doing it, you'd have a great time and have a career as opposed to just a job.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think the technology aspect really would be enticing to the younger generation, since
Absolutely.
they're so infused in technology. They get to do both, really hands-on.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, that's great.
For sure.
Hey, Shawn, if someone is really excited, they want to get into this career and they're really serious about it, what steps would you suggest to that person if they wanted to make their dream a reality right now?
Well, if they're going to go and make their dream a reality right now, I suggest they go and talk to an ambitious associate for one of these schools. They're gonna help them decide what their career path is and how they get there, but they also jumpstart the employment process. So when they get close to graduation, they help them develop a resume. They also help them spread that resume around to the companies in the industry that are looking for very ambitious and bright technicians that want to get hired. And there's a lot of OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, that have programs associated with these schools now. So the career path can be, very different and very diverse, like we talked about earlier. He may want to go to off-road. He may have that opportunity to do that, but they also help the student after graduation to make sure it's the right path for them. So I think it's the best way to approach the situation.
That's great.
Well, I tell you, this was a great interview, and I really appreciate you coming on the show, Shawn.
Well, I appreciate you guys having my input, and I really enjoyed being with you guys.
Yeah.
It's
It sounds
very
like
eye-opening.
you really enjoy your job. That's it. That's the best thing.
Yeah.
32-year career so far, and I started from the bottom, like I says, and I got all the way to the top. So
Awesome.
I really enjoy this career, and I'm proud of it. So,
that's so great.
Good luck to all the students out there that are listening.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shawn. I appreciate it. And don't go away. We'll be right back.